Hi, my name's Tony and welcome to The Productive Entrepreneur, getting you organized, productive and helping to make you more profit. This lecture is entitled What's on Your Mind? And it starts off with a great little quote there from Horace, who was a philosopher, and he said, "Control your mind or it will control you." And that is so true. That's what we're going to be talking about during this lecture, how to get things off your mind and into a process where you know where everything is safe, and you can recall it at a moment's notice. So before we get into the lecture, let me ask you a question. When you sit down at your desk or your coffee shop or wherever you work from, how long is it before you actually get down to work and you are truly productive? What's on your mind or your to-do list that keeps you from getting started? So just think about that for a moment before you proceed into the lecture. For me, what used to stop me was everything that was on my mind. Once, to give you an example, an extreme example, I had an unopened letter from my bank, and I knew it was from my bank because it had their stamp on it, and I didn't open it for about 3 or 4 weeks because I was worried that it was a demand letter or something of that nature. When I finally did open it, it was a letter saying that they had updated their privacy policy. I had let this letter get me down for 3 or 4 weeks, and by doing so I had lost all hopes of productivity. This pattern continued in other areas of my life, and I had to put a stop to it if I were to have any hope of becoming productive and controlling my mind. So that is no way for anybody to go through a day, a week, or even the rest of their life. You have to take control, and you have to do it now. It doesn't matter if it's a letter from your bank or if it's a simple email you need to send to confirm a dinner reservation. You have to take control. Beginning to empty everything that is on your mind is the first small step in your productivity journey and taking back control of your life. I have found that by getting everything off of my mind, it helps me to be present in whatever it is that I'm doing. If your mind is worrying about investor relations, a solicitor's letter, money that you owe, bills that you haven't paid, the present that you can't afford to buy for your partner, then you are not focusing on what you need to be doing. And if you're not focusing, you are not being present. And when you are not present, you are not moving forward. And when you don't move forward, you are not making money. And for an entrepreneur, it's as simple as that. When you are not moving forward, moving your business forward, moving your projects forward, you are not making money. So by the end of this course, one of the things that I want for you is to be present. To be in the moment of whatever it is you are supposed to be doing. And the best way to do that is to start like I did, which was to gather everything that was on my mind, both physically and mentally, and catalogue it. So I started by getting all of my unopened posts together, my emails, my voicemails, my thoughts, my bits of paper, magazines, old newspapers, appointments, everything that was either physically or mentally undone, and I put them on the floor beside my desk. If it was a thought that I had, I wrote it down on its own sheet of paper and I added it to the pile on the floor. Sitting at my desk, I had my computer, a scanner, and an empty in tray. I took the first item from the pile and I decided what I had to do with it. I didn't do exactly what I decided there and then, I simply put the item where it needed to be. I organised and I catalogued. If it was an old letter, I scanned it and binned it. If it was an article that I promised myself I would read, I placed it in my physical in tray. If it was a thought that I had, I added it to a notebook in Evernote. This entire process took me about 3 days to complete. And when I was finished, the most amazing thing started to happen. I didn't notice it for a few days, or maybe it took a few days for my mind's fog to lift, but all of a sudden I started to have ideas again. Instead of firefighting, my mind was free to think of new ideas and new solutions for my business. Projects that had been sitting hidden under the stairs of my mind were starting to come back to me with fresh new ways to move them forward. All of this after only a few days of getting everything catalogued and organised somewhere. Not long afterwards, I began to feel something else, a sense of control. With everything on my mind recorded somewhere, I knew what was on the horizon, what was coming. A quick look at my physical in tray or Evernote gave me to-dos and priorities. I could process them one at a time and I was actually enjoying it. By taking these small steps to productivity, I was able to start applying myself to other areas of my life. My mind was free to actually talk and listen when I was having a conversation with my partner. When I was out at night with friends, I was not thinking about what was waiting for me the next morning in my emails. Now don't get me wrong, in the beginning this takes a lot of effort. It takes both physical and mental strength to go through everything that you have, either physically or mentally. But once it's done, it gives you clarity and focus. As you start to put out the fires, you can begin to focus on what you need to be doing. For me, the effect was profound. There was a time when I had forgotten why I wanted to be an entrepreneur. In the mornings, I didn't know why I was getting out of bed. Each new day brought a new fire to fight. I had built a business through sheer force of will from the ground up, dragged it kicking and screaming into life, and I hated going into it every morning. Then, as I catalogued and recorded everything, I started to find my focus again. Slowly, I began to remember why I was getting up in the morning and why I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So you can experience these effects as well. You too can start to clear your mind and begin to focus on what matters. Here are the simple steps I used to help get you going. I got everything together in one place, letters, receipts, articles and paper documents, into a pile on the floor by my desk. I had my computer open with my emails ready to be processed in the same way as my physical documents. I took the first item from my physical pile and decided what to do with it. Save it in case I need it in the future, bin it, scan it to my computer, or delegate it to someone else. When I had gotten through the physical pile, I started on my email box. And I did pretty much the same thing. I saved it, I passed it on, deleted it, added to a folder I called Actions, which was for me to do later. Now I should point out that all I did at this stage was catalogue, record and decide what to do with everything that I had on my mind or physically on my desk. I saved it doing until I sorted through everything physically and mentally. Thank you. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask.